Hey everybody, Chris here. We have some volatility in the crypto market before today's FOMC meeting. Dogecoin price is at a crossroads. We're going to talk about that in this video. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Hit that little notification bell too. You can be notified when my new videos come out, as well as when I do live streams. We were expecting to hold a triple bottom pattern that we had right above 22 cents for Doge. It has breached that this morning, dropping a little bit further. Where does this go and what does this look like on the bigger picture? Let's get into it. Let me show you the charts in the news. I'll show you what I'm looking at. And we start here looking at the current Dogecoin price at 21.6. That's right, we did touch 21.5 this morning. Here's the 22 cent line with a triple bottom pattern and was not able to hold this morning. However, if we zoom out, let's look at the 4-hour chart here. Here's a previous triple bottom that we had here back on Friday, and that was breached. That was at about 22.3, and then we've got 22 cents more recently here on this pattern, and that has been breached as well. So weakness in the market after the big run we had earlier in July. Dogecoin is still up over 30% for the month of July, so that is good. However, since we topped out at 28 cents, overbought, markets go down, and we have more weakness ahead today. But we look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not dropping as much. Bitcoin had its big drop here last Friday, recovered up, and is holding pretty well. And in fact, if we zoom out even further on Bitcoin and we look at the weekly, we are still in this overall upward trend for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is still at the upper end of this trend, not looking to go back down to 100,000. No, it's holding very well up here. So overall, the crypto market, with Bitcoin as its base, is still holding up pretty well. It's the alts that are showing the weakness now as we see Bitcoin dominance doing its thing, right? Bitcoin dominance. We had this sort of mini little begin of an alt season, right? And Bitcoin dominance is saying, and this is on a weekly chart, no, we're going to come back up here. This was my prediction of Bitcoin dominance going forward, is that it was slowly going to start fading down, and instead we had this big red candle, kind of an overcompensation on the alts, and Bitcoin dominance is starting to come back up. Eventually it's going to find this line, and I think come end of September into October, November, we're going to see that. But right now, Bitcoin holding up very well, while Dogecoin is just coming down from an overbought condition. So that's the big picture that we have overall in the market right now. What else is going on? Well, look, we've got leverage. Huge amount of leverage is in play, the most we've had all summer long, and in fact, since November. And of course, November, with the big run in the crypto market, of course, there's going to be a lot of leverage traders. And so the crypto market is cooling off following a short-term phase of overheating and excessive leverage. Analysts say the reset may be healthy, clearing the way for more sustainable upside, but that is after we bottom out. So that's an interesting indicator that we've had, especially in the summertime. I wasn't expecting that much heavy trading, particularly on the leverage side. A lot of enthusiasm behind Bitcoin, but then you get all the degen, gamblers and traders that aren't happy with just making money off Bitcoin. They want 2x, 5x, 10x leverage, and they gamble their way into it, and you see a lot of them getting wrecked on these pullbacks. Look, we've got Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, Doge under pressure as retail traders are shorting the market now ahead of the FOMC. For Ethereum, we celebrate its 10th birthday, 10th anniversary today for ETH, and ETH is coming down a little bit too. This is typically what we see, though, ahead of FOMC. Many are predicting it's going to be a bummer, right? And again, it's going to be no change, right? And this is what I tweeted out last night, that according to all the data, the Fed should cut interest rates on Wednesday, but instead we're going to hear about possible inflation due to tariffs yet again, even though that doesn't seem to be the case so far. And that's what Powell's going to say. It's going to be, again, they should be reacting to the data and adjusting the monetary policy accordingly. But yet, they are not, and they haven't been for the past few months. So this fear of tariffs is still dictating their policy. So that's a little disappointing. And I also posted this chart this morning that Dogecoin is still above the 200-day moving average, which sits at 21.3, and Doge still up over 30% for the month of July. So, I mean, that's the big picture. Mags is saying, look, Bitcoin is forming a bullish rectangle pattern, which is a strong continuation pattern, breakout, and a new all-time high is coming soon. Yeah, so since July 11th, Bitcoin is just bouncing around within this sideways pattern now. And it's just about 3 weeks now that Bitcoin has been in this pattern. Again, the alts have been more volatile, particularly Dogecoin, but Bitcoin holding strong. ETH finally breaking out, one of the most anticipated moves of the cycle. Of course, it's pulling back. Now we'll probably hit this sloping, what was resistance line will become support, which will make that bounce work. We'll be watching that on ETH, while Dogecoin might need a brief dip before rising again. And that is what we are getting now, is that dip. So even Trader Allen anticipated it with this chart, very similar to what we had here earlier in the month after that first bit of a run. Then Dogecoin came down, hit support, came down, support, breached it a little lower. This was down at 19 cents. Bounced a little bit lower and then took off. This is what we are now seeing again. With this 22-cent line, we're now in the 21s. So this is playing out as Allen predicted. Brief dip before rising again. Now, is it going to rise all the way up like this? I don't think so. Not this early in August. I think we're probably going to dip, come back up, and then go a bit sideways. We will be watching that. And then we typically, what goes to the bird beaks, right? Well, these are just these triangles, right? And again, we see these triangles from the recovery from the April lows with the early May drive up, retest in June. In July, we saw these sort of triangles again, these bird beaks. And we're in one again. So this is Bitcoin's chart, looking at these bird beaks. And of course, Bitcoin holding very strong up here. So that has been the trend this cycle, is the strength of Bitcoin holding strong. While Dogecoin, the spinning top camp, I don't give much credence to these. This isn't the turnaround here. And in fact, Alan posted it this morning, and instead of this coming up, we've actually gone lower. So this one is a bit invalidated already. But these candles don't mean much. I mean, again, Alan's just looking for patterns, and he's looking at this pattern again from what we had here in late June on the dip. But good try. And of course, Ali posts Dogecoin could be preparing to rebound as the TD sequential indicator presents a buy signal on the 4-hour chart. Of course, this was at 21.9, and now we're even lower. So if you bought there, I still think 21.9 is a good price, but 21.5 is even better. Buying on dips. Again, this is all short term. You know, why is Dogecoin at this crossroads? The crossroads that this article was talking about was at 22-cent price level as being pivotal for the next move. We've dropped a bit below that. So So I was seeing this as this horizontal support area as well. I think this is a short-term drop before FOMC, and I think we are going to be back up over 22 cents shortly. But we will see how that plays out. I mean, there's a lot of different charts and things we had on the big scale of Doge. We can look at the 4-hour chart and we can see that Dogecoin had broken out of this downward trend line that we had since December. We broke out of that. We are not going to come back and retest that. Again, we're looking at these horizontal positions, and right now at 21.5, we are revisiting these dips that we had back here in May. Could this point to a lower drop, very similar to what so far Dogecoin is experiencing? Are we going to see that in August? This is going to be the key. Are we going to see something like this? Now, I've always been thinking first week of August that there could be dips, and we have to be ready for this kind of further action could happen with Doge. So is this a crossroads? Yes, this is a big crossroads right now. We're at this decision point here. Now, if Dogecoin can come back up to 22 cents and reclaim that as support, then we drift sideways at that point. Typically on the mornings of FOMC, in other words, from this point going forward, trading usually levels out and is pretty quiet going into the FOMC meeting. There's going to be a little volatility there. Again, it's going to be a big nothing burger because they're not going to lower interest rates. But we do tend to be at this support line here that we had from May, and this further drop in August, we could see something like that happening. So we'll be watching that. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this crossroads that we're at here. Again, I don't think it's a 22 cent crossroads, but looking at the charts, it's more like 21.5, because this is right where we were back in May before the early June drop in price that came down to 19 cents there. So we'll be watching that. Give the video a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate the support. We'll see you next time.